Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today, joined by my friend and co-host, Nolan Jamber. Welcome back to the show. Long awaited. He is back, ready to kill it today this morning, better than ever. How are you doing this morning, Nolan?
You know what? The sky's a little gloomy, but my attitude isn't. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's right. That's what I love to hear. That's what I love to hear. We got a big show for all of you guys today. Black Monday has come and gone in the NFL. It's a little bit less eventful than I thought it was, but if you were listening to the show yesterday, all 5 of the guarantees that we gave out are no longer a head coach in the NFL. The maybes, they're still coaching, but the guarantees are gone. So we love to put a win in the triple threat show column for us. We'll break down the 5 head coach openings, rank them 1 to 5. We'll go over the report cards, the final report for each and every single one of these NFL teams. Give them an A through F grade here. Talk about how they did for their season relative to what they were expected to do. And finally, we'll take a little bit of a dive into the trade deadline for the NBA. The NBA trade deadline is just about a month away, and it's starting to heat up. Trae Young requests a trade. What's going on with Giannis? Are we going to see a trade for Anthony Davis? What's going to happen with some of these high-profile stars? We will break all of that down for you and more. But let's start off with that coaching cycle, because this has kind of been the big news outside of what was a crazy FCS championship game last night. This has been the big news in sports. The head coach openings in the NFL, 5 of them. There are only 5. Usually there's about 7 if you go historically in the NFL. So less than usual in a coaching cycle that doesn't really have a lot of great names. The 5 teams that are looking for new head coaches. The Las Vegas Raiders looking for a new head coach. One and done is Pete Carroll after a very disappointing year that landed the Raiders the number 1 overall draft pick. That's something to keep in mind as we take a look. The Falcons get rid of Raheem Morris, and their GM Terry Fontenot no longer is in that front office. They've completely cleaned house, the only one of these to completely clean house in the entire NFL. The Falcons' job is available with a lot of talent. A lot of young talent. The Browns' job also available. 2-time coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski, no longer a member of the Cleveland Browns. Someone looking to turn that organization around for the first time really in their history. The New York Giants are looking for a head coach. They fired Brian Daboll midway through the season. Mike Kafka not going to get the job. That's just not how the interim head coach works these days. And also, he just is not the answer at head coach. And finally, the Titans available here. They also fired their head coach, Brian Callahan, midway through the season. Do you have a young quarterback in Cam Ward? We will break down all of these. But let's start off with my number 5 here. And my number 5 is going to be the Cleveland Browns. This is just a cursed franchise, Nolan. This is a cursed franchise, is the Browns. They get rid of Kevin Stefanski, which I think is a huge mistake, honestly. Kevin Stefanski is a great head coach. He's going to get a job immediately, hopefully with the New York Giants. We're hoping, fingers crossed, he is the next head coach in New York. This is a bad move. Look, there's not a lot of things that would draw me as a head coach to Cleveland. If I had an offer from all 5 of these teams, I would not go to Cleveland. The reason being, you don't have a quarterback. You don't have the top pick in the draft. You don't really have the weapons on the outside. You have Myles Garrett, which is very, very nice. But also, that quarterback situation is just horrendous. And I'm not going to stake my head coaching career on Shedeur Sanders and being able to turn him around. So he's number 5 for me.
It's not crazy. I mean, their quarterback situation obviously isn't like they had Deshaun Watson. Can't forget about him. But ever since coming to Cleveland, he's been nothing but a train wreck, respectfully. And I'm a partial Browns fan, so that kind of hurts to say. But they have Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, and that's not the most ideal quarterback room to have in the NFL. You don't have 2 rookies and a vet who isn't playing up to his standards. You have their offense isn't terrible though. You got Harold Fannin Jr., one of honestly the best rookie tight ends honestly probably the best rookie tight end. He played phenomenal this year. Great, he stepped up phenomenally. He had a great year. You got Jerry Judy. You have a few other receivers. You got Boyd. You got Tyler Boyd. But I mean, besides that, I mean, their offense isn't that good. Their honestly, their strong point is their defense. Their defense was still kind of playing down to their standards this year. They had obviously Myles Garrett. You drafted Mason Graham in the first round, and their defensive line, their defensive front seven, especially that rookie linebacker. I forgot his name. I believe he was at
Schweschinger,
LSU. Yeah,
Carson.
Washington. He's honestly up for defensive rookie of the year. I mean, he played phenomenal. He was a phenomenal linebacker. He did his job, made plays. They only had 5 wins, or yeah, 5 wins this entire year. And with as good as the defense they had, and the Browns are known to be a defensive team, it's just not going to cut it. And unfortunately, that's been happening the past few years. And Kevin Stefanski was fired. And I do disagree with it. I think he wanted to be in Cleveland. He's been there like since 2020 when they first hired him. In his first year there, he made the playoffs. That was a great sign. That was only up from there. And they just like that bad no call against the Chiefs in 2021. It also downhill from there. But in my opinion, I think he still should be there. He by far, like you said, is the best head coach available out of these most recent 5 firing. Oh yeah, definitely the worst. Kind of sad.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's reason you could put them a little bit ahead, but I mean, I wouldn't put them any higher than 4. And the reason I wouldn't put them ahead of my number 4 team, if all 5 of these teams offered me the 4th best offer that I would accept, would be the Raiders. And the only reason the Raiders are ahead of the Browns right now is because they have that number 1 overall pick. And if I'm a coach, not only do I have that number 1 overall pick, and if I really like a quarterback in this class, I can get one. Now, I personally don't love a quarterback in this class, but I can also trade that number 1 pick away for a haul to, say, I don't know, the New York Jets or something that I believe would be very willing to trade for that number 1 overall pick, get a little bit of that Carolina Panthers to the Chicago Bears kind of haul right now. You also have a lot of really promising weapons. Max Crosby on the defensive side of the ball. You have Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty on the offensive side of the ball. If you can fix up that team a little bit, I think this is a Raiders squad that people were saying was a dark horse for that wild card spot last year. It didn't work out, obviously. Geno Smith didn't play out the way that they wanted him to, but there's reason to be a little bit more optimistic in Las Vegas than there is in Cleveland, in my mind.
I don't know. I think Smith. I mean, he's just terrible. He played just terrible this year. But I really don't feel like they're it. I feel like I'd rather be going to Cleveland rather than Las Vegas. Honestly, I feel like they just have more there. They have a better defense besides Max Crosby, and they have Max Crosby. That's really it. I mean, they really don't have a good interior DB room. I really don't think they do. And obviously, they only had 2 wins this year. So, but I think I would rather go to Cleveland, in my opinion, though. I mean, they do have obviously you have Brock Bowers, possibly top 3 tight end, top 2 tight end in the NFL when he's healthy. You have the rookie Ashton Genty, who get him behind a competent O line with even just a mediocre competent O line. He'll put up good numbers. I mean, look what he did this year with an abysmal O line. I mean, they're gonna have to be O line heavy. I feel like because they have decent their receiving room isn't terrible, but their offense they need to be heavy on defense and offensive line this year because I think that Max Crosby might get traded. I think he might be out. I wouldn't be surprised. He's posting on Instagram and deliberately playing basketball with his daughter after getting kicked out of the not kicked out like released from the stadium from the team for like medical reasons. You saw that. In my opinion, I got to go to Cleveland. I think they have a brighter future than Vegas, in my opinion. But like you said, could be throwing a lot of first round picks. New York, maybe the Titans. They throw like 3 or 4 first round picks their way. Never know.
We'll have to see. I understand the argument you're coming from over there, honestly. I like the potential of having that number 1 overall pick. And if I had to stack the weapons up between these two teams, I'm taking the Raiders in like a really slight victory in my mind. I think there's a very clear divide between the bottom 2 teams and everyone else. I think every other team has a pretty clear vision of what their future might look like aside from those 2 teams at the bottom. So at number 3, I'm going with the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have Cam Ward, and his stats maybe didn't light up the score sheet, but if you watched him play, you could see the potential there. He was playing really good football, especially down the stretch for that Titans squad. A Titans squad that won a couple games down the stretch. Now he's dealing with an AC joint sprain, not going to need surgery. That's the best case scenario. He's got all offseason to deal with that. He got injured in week 18, but you have your quarterback of the future. You know how to build around him. You got to get him some weapons. You have a lot of cap space. You have to build up that defense a little bit. You have to go out and sign free agents, draft well. But, excuse me, this is a Titans team that already has a quarterback, and they have a top 5 pick. That's a pretty good combination in my mind when you're looking at the other two teams that are behind them. They can't really stack up to the Titans really at all.
Best situation for a team to be in ever. This is the best situation going into the draft, not needing a quarterback. They're a top 5 pick. They had their first round pick last year, and they got their guy. And going into this draft, they can draft whoever they want. They're probably going to draft, it's going to be, I would assume, an O lineman, maybe a receiver, because I just don't know who he's throwing that ball to. I really don't. I don't know who receiver he targets, but I couldn't name a single receiver on that team, to be frank. But, I mean, I don't know who they'll get, but either way, they're in a great spot. I mean, they had, 5 wins this year, 6 wins this year, with a very mediocre team. Granted, they are in a very statistically, historically, not a very good conference. And this year just happened to be a very good conference. I mean, you have the Texans, the Colts, and the Jags, who are both on a new head coach, or the Jags on the head coach who won 13 games, the Texans who just had the best defense in the NFL, and the Colts who started the best and just had, unfortunately, just the worst drop-off. Injuries just happened. But I think that, yeah, the Titans are definitely in the best spot to succeed. Or, I think they'll be great. I think they're in a good spot. Top 5 pick, already have a quarterback in the future. He threw for 3,000 passing yards and 24 touchdowns. I'll take that.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad season. It wasn't a bad season by really any standards. It just wasn't a, oh my God, this guy is the real deal kind of season, which we've seen out of a lot of rookie quarterbacks over the last couple of seasons. Number 2, I'm going with the New York Giants. You want to talk about having an infrastructure already? You've got Jackson Dart. You have a wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. You have a running back, maybe even 2, in Tracy and Scattaboo. You have a defense all set up with that crazy defensive line if you can get the right guy to coach them up. You've got a solid left tackle in Andrew Thomas. You just need to be the guy that gets it all to click. You need to be the guy that gets it all to come together. They need an elite offensive coach. That guy might be Kevin Stefanski in my mind. I think that's where they should go. I hope that's where they go, but I'm not the one making decisions. Joe Shane is, and we'll have to see how they go. But they are number 2 in a pretty close battle. I think you could make the argument that they're number 1, but I'm not quite going to put them there yet.
Yeah, I think they are number 1, in my opinion. Like, the way you literally just laid it out, the way they already have the quarterback of the future. If he learns to slide and not try to take a hit every other play, if you have your running back, you have your receiver, you have a great front 7, you have a half an O line. I mean, this team, in my opinion, is the best team going. Looking without a head coach, they just have everything they need. And once you figure out how to, lessen the concussions from Jackson Dart and tell Cam Scattaboo not to be an absolute freak and just kind of be a little more careful, this team will be good. I mean, they were good this year. They started pretty strong. They started relatively strong. They didn't win the games, but they were putting up good points. They were keeping the games close, and that's with a rookie quarterback. That wasn't even with Jackson Dart. That was with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Jackson Dart didn't even start. He was in there, and he dominated. He started great. Yeah, unfortunately, did relatively well without Malik Neighbors, without Dart, without Cam Scattaboo. So I think this is the best team going into the draft without a head coach. But also, I have a question. What about Singletary? Is he gone? You think he's gone?
Nah, it doesn't really matter. He'll be third string I think he's got 1 more year on his contract.
That's fair. Okay.
But I, for the record, think the Giants should not have fired Brian Daboll. I think he would have been a great head coach to take this team into the future, at least an offensive coordinator. So we will see. He really was getting that offense to work a little bit. maybe he wasn't the answer defensively, but we just needed a different defensive coordinator. But that leaves us with number one. And you talked about the Giants being number one. I think there's a pretty clear number one answer, and I think that's the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have just about everything you could want. They have a really solid young defensive line, a great shutdown corner defensively, a really solid linebacker core over there. And when you go to the offensive side of the ball, you've got maybe the best running back in football in Bijan Robinson, right? You have one of the top 10 wide receivers in football in Drake London. You could re-sign Kyle Pitts, and then you have one of the best tight ends in football if he keeps playing the way that he did this year right there. And you've got Michael Penix if you believe in him. And if you don't believe in him, go get a quarterback. That's really all you are away. Now, I am a guy that believes in Michael Penix, which is why I think he's ahead of the Giants and Jackson Dart, because that team is ready to go. That team is already set up and ready. And I just think that that's a Falcons team that's in a little bit of a better situation in their division to make the playoffs next year than the Giants are, with the way that the NFL is set up and the teams are around them. So the Falcons, number one on my coach power rankings. If I was offered by all 5 teams, I would accept that Atlanta Falcons coaching job.
Yeah, I can definitely see why you're saying number one now that you're saying that you kind of put it together. But I still think the Giants are one. I think the Falcons are two. They do have the best running back in the NFL, top 3 at least. Kyle Pitts, they were so good this year because they finally started to utilize Kyle Pitts. I feel like he was not being utilized at all the past few years, or not to the standards, not to the reps that he was getting this year. And obviously, you have Drake London, a top. Going into the season, he was a top 10 receiver. I think he finished fantasy wise, receiver number 7. Honestly, and
he missed a lot of time with injury. I'm not sure where he finished, but there's an excuse there.
There's an excuse, but he would have finished number 7 if he stayed on pace. I mean, he was great. I mean, the Falcons defense, they do have a great defense. They have a decent interior 7. Actually, what cornerback are you talking about? What's the lockdown you're talking about?
Michael Penix.
No, the corner. Not the corner.
AJ Terrell.
Oh, I forgot about him. Not gonna lie, but I forgot he's that. Oof. But I think they could definitely go. They don't have to draft a quarterback. I think Michael Penix, he's 27.
He's a little bit up there, yeah.
He's a little older, so I think they don't need to draft a quarterback early. I think they could definitely draft one later in the draft. But I think they'll definitely target probably an O-lineman in the first round. I think their O-line was a little down this year. I don't think it was that good. Michael Penix didn't have too much time to throw. And I think it'll definitely be O-line. If not, a safety. But I think that they're definitely probably in the best situation with the Giants, but probably maybe a little less than the Giants.
Nolan, read me your list. Top 5. You, Nolan Jamber, get offered all 5 coaching jobs. What's the order that you're accepting them in?
1, Giants. 2, Atlanta. 3, Titans. 4, Browns. Actually, no, I'll take it back. I'm doing Browns 3, Titans 4, Raiders 5.
All right. I'll read through mine real quick here, and then we're going to move on. Number 5 for me, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders at number 4, Titans at 3, Giants 2, and the Atlanta Falcons, the best coaching opportunity in my mind. Let's take a look, though, at not just the head coach openings, but every other team. The season has come and gone, unfortunately, but we still need to give out our closing reports, our report cards for each and every NFL team. I've got a letter grade for them, A through F. Pretty balanced, honestly. I've got 5 teams in every category other than 2. 2 categories have 6 teams. So it just kind of worked out that way. We love a nice balanced grid. Let's start out at the bottom, though. The teams getting Fs, failing grades for this season. The Arizona Cardinals, who finished with the worst record in their really long tenured history, fired their head coach and Jonathan Gannon. Ooh, we did not put him on the list there.
I was thinking about that. I was like, should I say something?
Yeah, we're gonna put the Cardinals here on the list. We're gonna put them here, slide them in at number 4, ahead of the Browns and the Raiders here for me. They've got a little bit there, but you've got a messy quarterback situation with Kyler Murray here. I knew I was forgetting one.
And I was like, should I say something? I felt kind of bad. I was like, I don't want to like say something while you're talking. I was like, it's
The oh well. Oh well, we keep going. The Washington Commanders also get a failing grade, whether it be because of injuries or not having the personnel. It doesn't matter. This was an abysmal season for the Washington Commanders. They get an F. The Jets get an F. The first team in almost 100 years to not have an interception. The first team ever since they started tracking interceptions to not have an interception. The Jets, who hired a defensive coach, will hold on to him. They get an F. The Titans, they get an F as well. They could not string a win together to save their lives. I like Cam Ward, but they need to get some talent around him. And the Raiders, they also get an F. This is a Raiders team that just does not have a lot of promise to it. Geno Smith completely fell on his face. Like I said, the expectations for this team heading in, about 9-8, a potential playoff berth if things fell their way, where they're picking number 1 overall. If that isn't a failing grade, I don't know what is, Nolan.
things obviously did not go their way, as you can tell. But I mean, the Jets, they're just bad. They just have nothing, respectfully. They just don't. They have no offense, no defense. They lost by 40 points to the Pats just this recent week. So they're straight up just terrible. I'm not sure how they didn't get the first overall pick. I feel bad. But no interceptions in the single season. That's I don't know. I just don't know how that's possible.
It's embarrassing, honestly.
It's honestly sad. Like I'm not even trying to be mean, but that's just pathetic. But let's just keep it short. Jets stink. Raiders actually I actually had decently high hopes for. I didn't think they'd be a playoff team. I thought they have at least a better record. I was also high on Geno Smith. I thought he'd be playing a lot better, but he obviously didn't. Um, every team in the F just sucks. I don't want to say anything. They all just suck. I think it's just easy enough to say. They just weren't just good. Cam Ward, he's good, but the Titans suck. They're just bad.
All right, let's move up a tier. Let's get to that E. These guys are getting E's. This is a category where I said this was a bad season. No doubt about it. They did not meet their expectations, but at the same time, there was a bright spot. There was something to take away from this season that says we can probably move forward a little bit. The Atlanta Falcons are in this spot. They fired their head coach. We just talked about that. But you saw a defensive line start to form a little bit. James Pierce finished with 10.5 sacks on the season. They traded away a lot to get him. They finished up with a middling draft pick, and that's enough to not really feel a lot of regret. They had to trade away 2 first-round picks to get him. It's starting to work out. They're in that E tier. The Dolphins join them as well in that letter grade, getting an E for their season. They rattled off a couple wins. They were in the playoff hunt for a hot second there, and then they fell off. They did enough to keep their head coach around, which is kind of impressive to me. So the Dolphins get an E. It was still a really bad season, but they're keeping their coach, moving off of Tua. They're making some stuff happen. The Browns also get an E here. The silver lining for the Browns, Myles Garrett breaks the single-season sack record. That's the silver lining. I can't give him an F when something like that happens, when they make history. The Giants also fall into this tier. They only won 3 games, 2 of them at the end when they should have probably lost, but I'm never rooting for them to lose. I think that's a lame move if you're rooting for your team to lose for draft pick. I just think that's stupid. But Jackson Dart found a little bit of something there, and I think you can make an argument that this is a Giants team that could be kind of fringe playoffs next year if everything goes their way. And the last team I've gotten this E letter grade, we're giving the Bengals an E as well. This is a Bengals team that, sure, it looked really bad, and sure, they didn't fire their head coach, but they won 6 games, and they did it with Joe Flacco a lot of the times, which is really impressive. There's some things to like out of this Bengals squad. If they can make a defense happen, they could win a couple games. They kind of fell exactly where I expected them to, maybe a little bit worse because of that Joe Burrow injury. So this is a Bengals team that deserves an E for me. Falcons, Dolphins, Browns, Giants, and the Cincinnati Bengals all get E's for me in this year's NFL season.
The Bengals, unfortunately, I feel like their defense will never be good enough for them to, like they obviously made it to the Super Bowl 3 years ago, but that was all offense. Their defense just has never been that high caliber, and that's why they'll never probably make a deep play. Not with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's kind of losing his mind over there. Maybe he's not, but I feel like there's signs saying he might want to leave soon. I mean, they had 6 wins, and Joe Burrow was out for what, 6 weeks? While with that turf toe, he was out for a while. So I think the Bengals definitely always have a future, especially if they still have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown and Joe Burrow. They have those 4 players, they'll be fine. They can make do with whatever else is going on there in Cincy. But if we see them in the E tier, the Dolphins with Quinn Ewers, that's a team. That's a team there that I'm kind of excited to see going into next year. What they're going to do. They have the weapons. They have Jalen Waddle.
You're keeping Quinn Ewers?
What?
You're keeping Quinn Ewers?
Absolutely. Tua's done.
Oh, yeah, I know Tua's done, but you're sticking with Ewers. That's your guy going forward.
I think he is. Did you see how good he played at the end of the season? He played.
It was all right.
I mean, he played good for a rookie who's getting no minutes the entire year, gets thrown into the starting role. Just, hey, go have fun. Sure. He did good. I thought they have the weapons there to make him succeed. You have Waddle, you have Tyreek, if hopefully he plays with the Dolphins again next year. If not, they'll probably maybe draft the receiver. I don't know. But maybe they'll probably draft defense. But yeah, I think the Dolphins, I think that Quinn Ewers could definitely be the guy. Because they don't have it. They don't have a top 10 pick, do they? Do they?
They probably do.
Wait, I don't know if they'll get a quarterback that early though. Maybe. I'm not sure. I really don't think this is a pretty weak quarterback class in my opinion though. I don't think they'd want to risk a quarterback, especially because they just drafted one last year who just played good. So I'd take Quinn Ewers there, but I think the Dolphins will be he'll be fine next year. But this year I can definitely see them being in the E tier again.
No, they're picking 11. They do not have a top 10 pick.
I want top 10. Okay. Well, I stand corrected. Don't draft the quarterback. I think Quinn Ewers is the guy. Give him a year. Give Quinn Ewers a year. Let him work it out. See how well he'll play.
Give him a shot.
The Falcon. Give it a shot, man. Why not?
Why not?
The Falcons are definitely the best team in this category for sure. Like you said, best running back, great quarterback, phenomenal tight end, good rush defense, good pass defense, relatively. I think that, like you said, this is the best team to go to for head coach, and I can see why. This Falcons team is going to be good next year, especially in a weak NFC South. Love the Panthers, though, making the playoffs. But, I mean, I think that the Falcons next year, if they play their cards right, hire the right guy, make the right pick. You could say this for every team, but I think they could definitely be a playoff team next year. We saw them go 7-9 this year, and technically it was not really a down year, but I mean they were starting Michael Penix halfway through the season when there was Kirk Cousins starting. He got hurt, put him in. Then Cousins got hurt again, put Penix back in. It was a whole shabacle, but Falcons did good for what they had. I'm rooting for the Falcons next year, in my opinion. That's all I'm rooting. I'm rooting for the Falcons to win the South next year. Maybe not the Panthers again, but the Falcons. Who else was it? Who else did you say it was the we're missing?
I think you got everyone there, honestly.
I'll take it.
The D tier here. The teams getting D's on the season. There's 5 teams here. These D stands for disappointment. These are the teams that I was just so disappointed in. I'm not mad at them. I understand why they didn't do good, but I'm just disappointed in these teams. I'm a little like, oh, you could have done something and you didn't. The Ravens miss out on the playoffs. Lamar Jackson was injured a lot of the time. They lose Kyle Hamilton, which is the glue that holds that defense together in that final game. I'm just disappointed in them. The Lions, again, they lose their offensive and defensive coordinators. They lose a couple offensive line pieces. I'm just disappointed. I just am disappointed in them. The Bucks, they make the playoffs the last couple years. Baker off to an incredibly hot start in MVP talks, fall off a cliff. I'm just disappointed. Nolan. The Chiefs, they lose Patrick Mahomes. They granted late in the season, but still they lose Patrick Mahomes. They lose Gardner Minshew the next game. They're starting Chris Oludekun. They have a lot of issues off the field at the beginning of the season. Travis Kelce is old and a little bit probably going to retire at the end of the year. I'm just disappointed. And last but not least, it's the Vikings. I kind of saw this one coming, but they won 14 games last year. J.J. McCarthy did not work out. And you know what, Nolan? I'm just disappointed in this team, man. I really just am. These 5 teams, they're not going to be bad next year. They're going to be at least okay next year. A lot of them, in fact, I would argue that most of them are going to be in the playoffs next year. But this year, I'm just disappointed. They get D's.
Disappointed. I'll start the Lions just because it's my team. I'm also disappointed. Dan Campbell himself said he was disappointed. So this Lions team just kind of fell apart. They had 9 wins, 9-8, but they lost key games, the games they should have won. I mean, they won games that they barely scraped by on teams that they should have slaughtered, beat by a lot. But just a down year. When you lose your centerpiece on the offensive line, you lose Ben Johnson, the best offensive mind in the NFL, in my opinion. You lose your defensive coordinator, who honestly was replaceable. I like our new guy too, but it just sucks. You lose both your coordinators. You go from first in the NFC to not even making the playoffs. It happens. Downfalls like that happen. But when you're with the Lions, you've seen that happen a million times. So disappointed in them as well. I am very surprised that the Bucs fell off a cliff the way they did. They started so hot, like 4-2, 5-2. Emeka Ibuka was looking at the top of the world, looking like the best receiver in the NFL. And then it just fell off a cliff. Mike Evans got hurt. I think after when Mike Evans got hurt, I think that's when it kind of just fell off a cliff. He was a centerpiece. Their defense was just not good this year, letting up too many touchdowns for teams they shouldn't have. So I can definitely see why I'm disappointed there. And I'll do it with the Ravens. I mean, should have made the playoffs. That unfortunately Tyler Loop, just rookie kicker, you're putting him in a situation like that. You can't do that. You can't put the kid in a situation like that and blame it on him. It's not his fault. The Ravens had a good year, but it won't be. But people are saying it might be Lamar's last year in Baltimore. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I won't be surprised if I see him getting traded to the Detroit line. Nah, but I mean, that's been a conversation forever. But I mean, I won't be surprised if that's his last year in Baltimore. He's been there since 2018. He's won 2 MVPs, but has not made it to the AFC Championship. Hasn't made it to the Super Bowl, and that team is loaded. Get it done.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I would be shocked if they traded him. I think that might be the stupidest move any franchise has ever made in the history of football. But it's the Ravens. I don't know what they're going to do over there. It seems like the relationship is a little bit frayed between him and Harbaugh. Maybe they move off of Harbaugh. I would make that move way before I moved off of Lamar Jackson. Moving up to the C tier. These are all teams that met expectations in my mind or were just better than I expected them to be and bad. And that example right there is the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints all the way up in C. I know. Look at me like I'm crazy. Look at this. This is a Saints team that started off awful, but if you look at the way they finished, you look at the way that they started, Kellen Moore had this team playing, and he had this team playing hard. I'm a big fan of the way that he had that team going. I'm giving the Saints a C here. They're a little bit of an outlier, but I was kind of impressed with the way that team was moving down the stretch. They won a couple tight games. They were a real pain for a lot of teams. And you know what? They might have lost a lot of games, but in every single one down the stretch of the season, they were close, which it has to count for something when you're going up against teams that are just frankly better than you. I'm giving them a C. The San Francisco 49ers also get a C. They were dealing with a lot of injuries, and that's impressive. But they always deal with a lot of injuries. I think something's in the water in San Francisco, so that's just how it is. I'm kind of used to it. This is the kind of season I expected out of them. They get a C for me. The Bills get a C because I'm a little bit concerned about them, right? This is a Bills team that Josh Allen playing amazing, but he has to be Superman for them to win. You have James Cook, who's played a really great season, the rushing champion James Cook over there, who had a really great year. But that defense just isn't great. They'll make the playoffs as a 6 seed. They get a C because they made the playoffs, but that's about as high as I could put them. Same thing could be said for the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champs, the reigning Super Bowl champs, sneak into the playoffs. Their offense just isn't it. Seems like we have this discussion every single year, but Jalen Hurts has not turned it up yet. They need to turn that up soon if they want to advance deep into the NFC in the playoffs. And the last team that gets a C, C stands for Cowboys. Cowboys get a C. The Cowboys are mid. I like Dak Prescott a lot. I think they've got a lot of pieces. That defense is bad. You've got George Pickens, who I think looked really good, but the Cowboys just are the most C team I've ever seen in my entire life this year.
I feel like the Cowboys are always going to be like in D tier because they're always disappointed because they never make the playoffs. They never do good, recently at least. But I think I would definitely doubt the Cowboys to honestly D, maybe not E, but I wouldn't be surprised because, I mean, they just didn't play that good. They had a good team. Dak played great. Like, Dak is always a solid quarterback. You still have CeeDee Lamb, who was top 3 receiver, top 5 receiver in the NFL. You still have, Pickens, who's really showed out this year in his first year with the Cowboys. But I don't know. They're just always just kind of in the middle of just good, bad, just right there, just mid. They're always just mid. So I can definitely see them being at C, but I would drop them to D at lowest E. You have, let's talk about the Eagles. I mean, they won a Super Bowl last year. People were excited. I mean, they've won, two in the past? They won 2 in the past, 4 years?
They've been to 2 in the last 4 years.
They lost to the Chiefs, right? Lost to the Chiefs. But still, I mean, they were coming into the season with very high hopes. They're coming in saying we can go back to back, and Jalen Hurts and that offense, for how much they have, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and you're just kind of barely scraping by in a very weak conference with the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Commanders. Granted, they took the division by a lot, but it really didn't. They seemed like they were losing games that shouldn't be winning. They're kind of like the Lions. They were winning games by very little margins and beating bad teams and losing games that they needed to win. But they just got in the division. They got the division win because, to be frank, the NFC East was not good this year. So I mean, they're in the playoffs. They won the division. I mean, they're playing. Who are they playing? The Rams. Are they the 3 seed?
Yep, they're playing the Niners.
The Niners. Okay, so I think they lose. I think the Niners will beat them. I think the Niners switch to the Niners. I think that the Niners, for how much they get injured every year, and still being second, they got second in their conference, or was it third?
6th.
Oh, I mean, the NFC West.
Oh, the NFC West. I think they were 3rd.
Third? Wow. But I mean, still, for how many injuries they had consistently throughout the year, I mean, they had players who stepped up. Look at Mac Jones, who stepped up for Brock Purdy for the few weeks he was out. I mean, he played phenomenal. And the fact that team was 12-5 and 3rd in their own division, 6th in the NFC. I mean, that's just insane. But I think they're going to be a good team. I think they could definitely. Hopefully, I like the Niners. I don't mind the Niners. I kind of like seeing them play good. So wouldn't be surprised if they kind of make a little deep run. Wouldn't be surprised.
All right, now we get to the successful teams. B tier is where I start to say you had a successful season. These are the teams I would give a B. We got 6 teams in this tier. I'm going to start off with the only playoff team that I deemed to have a successful season, that being the Indianapolis Colts. I thought this team was going to be atrocious. I thought this team was going to be maybe the worst in the NFL. Daniel Jones is your starter? What are you doing? Turns out Daniel Jones was the right answer to be your starter. Tears his Achilles, unfortunately, and they fall off a cliff. But Phillip Rivers makes a comeback. I like this Colts team. I think they'll be back. I like the way that defense was playing. They went all in to get Sauce Gardner, which could be a mistake. That demotes them a little bit, and they missed the playoffs, which demotes them a little bit more. So I'm giving them a B, a low B, do the Indianapolis Colts get. The Chargers get a B as well. They dealt with a lot of key injuries to offensive linemen, but Justin Herbert played through it. Jesse Minter coached up a really, really impressive defense. I'm impressed by the way this team played. They get a B. The Packers get a B. Micah Parsons gets a B basically all on his own. He would get an A, honestly, if Micah Parsons was still here, but he's not. They fell off a little bit, and now they're limping into the playoffs, are the Green Bay Packers, so they get a B. The Steelers get a B as well. Maybe I should put them in the C because that's exactly what we knew they were going to do, 10-7 and make the playoffs at that number 4 seed, but they made the playoffs, so shout out to them. They get another B. And the Houston Texans get a B as well. They started off 0-3, and now they're on a 9-game win streak in the playoffs. That defense is ridiculous. The best defense in the NFL by, I think, a pretty solid margin. It's a really good squad. I'm taking this Texans team to give a B. And the final team, I'm giving a B to Nolan. I'm giving it to the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers. Playoff Panthers. They have won the NFC South at 8-9. They get to not only make the playoffs, but host a playoff game against the Rams, who they beat earlier this year. Do they have it in them again? I don't think so, but who knows? Maybe things like this can happen. Magic is in the air. The Carolina Panthers get a B in a really successful season, their first playoff berth since 2015.
Since 2015, and they're hosting a playoff game. Yeah, I'm putting $1,000 on the Carolina Panthers. No, but I mean, beating the Rams twice in a single season, both at home too. I just don't know. I mean, it's doable. I wouldn't be opposed, but the fact that the Panthers are 8-9 and making the playoffs and hosting a playoff game is just so funny to me. I love that. But I love it. I mean, I told you guys earlier this year I thought the Carolina Panthers were going to win the NFC South. You believed in me. My dad thought I was losing my mind. Look at me now. I'm on top of the world. I'm so happy. I love the Panthers making the playoffs. This is the first time making it since 2015 with Cam Newton, and that was their Super Bowl run. They lost, unfortunately, but I mean, look at them, man. I'm so happy. I am just so happy. The Colts. I am so sad at the Colts. I'm making the playoffs. I'm honestly kind of sad. 8-1 start. Jonathan Taylor is playing the best. Honestly, the best running back in the NFL. Mac Jones is looking like an MVP caliber player. Defense is phenomenal. You just traded for Sauce Gardner, an elite cornerback from New York for 2 first-round picks, and then you fall off a cliff. I mean, it's not your fault. Injuries happen. You lose your quarterback. You bring in Phillip Rivers instead of kind of what. I mean, was Riley Leonard injured? Was he just why couldn't they play him? I don't know.
They just didn't want to. Didn't feel like it. Phillip Rivers instead.
Sure, get the 45-year-old. Why not? Hey, Phillip, loosen that arm a little bit. We're seeing you out there. But I mean, it worked out. I mean, it didn't really work out, but he played good. Phillip Rivers kind of taught Riley Leonard a lot. I could definitely tell Riley Leonard seemed he seemed very focused. He seemed like he knew what he was doing in that last game. So I'll give it to him. He seemed like he's playing solid, especially for his first ever start. He was playing the Texans. He was playing the best defense in the NFL. Put up 34 points, 35 points. I'll take that. Also, the Texans. I'd put the Texans honestly up in their slot. I put them up in A, in my opinion. I think that they are. I'm not gonna say the best team in the AFC, but I think they can beat any team currently in the AFC. Maybe even I think this is their run. This is if their defense steps up, if their defense plays the way they have been, and their offense just plays relatively good. I think they can actually win it all this year. Wouldn't be surprised. But I wouldn't be mad about it either. I like the Texans. I like what CJ Stroud's doing. I like how well the defense is playing, especially after a really bad start, 0-3, like you said. Just kind of took advantage of almost the weak division because you got the Jags. But I think that they really deserve their uptaking. They've been bad historically, besides the J.J. Watt era. But I mean, look at them now. Proud of them.
All right, that leaves us with our big winners, the A's, the best teams, the teams that passed with flying colors, the valedictorians of the NFL this year. There's 6 of them. We're going to start off with the Rams. The Rams look like a juggernaut. They look like the Super Bowl favorites. They lost a game to the Seattle Seahawks. They lose out on that 1 seed, but they still played great football. The LA Rams get an A from me in their report card. The Jacksonville Jaguars, new head coach, no problem. Trevor Lawrence playing the best football of his career. Liam Cohen gets an A for that Jaguars squad. The Seattle Seahawks likewise get an A. Mike Macdonald gets an A for them. You'll see a little bit of a trend. Every coach in the Coach of the Year discussion is going to be up here in the A tier. Mike Macdonald in that discussion for sure with his defense, what they've been able to do. Now, Sam Darnold, 2 straight 14-win seasons for him. The only other quarterback to do that, and only know who that is? Tom Brady.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd say he was probably a little bit okay at football. A little bit okay. It was fine. Yeah.
All right.
Seattle Seahawks get an A here from me. The Chicago Bears. How about the Bears? They are back in the playoffs. They get a 2 seed. The 2 seed Bears. That's insane. Shout out to the Bears. They get an A. The 1 seed Denver Broncos also get an A. Shout out to the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix playing great football. That defense playing elite football. I'm a big fan of that Broncos defense as a whole. And the last team that gets an A, you know who it is. MVP Drake May himself. That Patriots team, complete turnaround, coach of the year potential for Mike Vrabel over there. This is a Patriots team that dominated all season long. You can talk about strength of schedule. It doesn't matter. You have to win those games. And not only did they win those games, they dominated those games. This is a really good Patriots team. And if you give them anything less than an A, I just don't think you've been watching football, honestly.
Pick the schedule, man. Nah, I'm joking. But I think Mike Vrabel should have been coach of the year or Liam Cohen. It has to be one of those two. I mean, they both come into franchises with like 4 wins in the previous season. Haven't been playing up to standards in the past few years. The Jaguars kind of scraping, kind of making the playoffs, like wild card teams. The Patriots just kind of not playing good, making it, haven't made it since 2021. And they both come in and put them not only at the top of their divisions, but 1 seed in the or 1 second, 2 seed in the AFC, and the 3 seed in the AFC. I mean, really, those two guys should win coach. One of those two, and they're both just great teams. Trevor Lawrence was. There was a lot of question on Trevor Lawrence this year. Like, people were saying, was he worth the money? Was he worth the $200 million contract? Just not playing that good, and he really just responded this year. This was his response here, and he made it count. He put the Jaguars at the top, probably the best record, best year the franchise has had since 2018. Yeah, since 2018 against when they made the Super Bowl, they made that AFC Championship. But the Jags look great. The Patriots, I mean, they're looking phenomenal. The Broncos, I'm surprised you put them up this high because how much you love Bo Nix.
Yeah, my favorite guy.
Honestly, I could see why, but at the end of the day, they're number 1 in the AFC, so you can't deny the facts. But they look phenomenal. The Broncos look. I think that they could definitely be interchangeable, 1 or 2 with the Patriots, but record-wise, they're going to be 1. But they look great. The Broncos look phenomenal. The defense is there. Bo Nix has been playing good football. Even you got to admit it. You got to admit he's playing good football. To admit that, maybe. But I mean, these top 6 teams are all phenomenal in their own reasons. The Seahawks, and Sam Darnold's phenomenal. JSN is the best receiver in the football. Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, just that dual threat backfield, so good. The Rams, Matthew Stafford, MVP caliber quarterback. Again, most all those teams are just phenomenal in their own right, and any one of those teams can win the Super Bowl this year. Anyone will.
We will have to see what happens. Those are my report cards for each and every NFL team. We give them a letter grade every single year. This right here is what they get. Shout out to our teams with A's, the Rams, Jaguars, Seahawks, Bears, Broncos, and the Patriots. But we've talked enough NFL today, Nolan. We really have. Let's talk a little bit of, we talked enough NFL today. Let's talk a little bit of NBA because the trade deadline is right around the corner, and we had some huge news come out last night. Trae Young, star point guard for the Atlanta Falcons, maybe not for much longer. He officially is working with the franchise, according to Shams Charania of ESPN, to get a trade done. This is a huge deal because, I mean, look, it didn't seem like movement was going to happen. We've talked ad nauseum about a potential Giannis trade. We thought he was going to get traded in the offseason. At least I did. I thought he was not going to play another second for the Milwaukee Bucks. And now we're almost halfway through the season at this point, and he still remains in Milwaukee. Maybe he gets traded. Who knows? But Trae Young is on the trade block. This is a Hawks team that started off hot without Trae Young. They've fallen off a cliff. He still hasn't really been back that much, but they kind of went all in this year. They went out and got Kristaps Porzingis. They've got a couple guys to come in and build a team around. This felt like a high play-in, low playoff team to me, but it has just not worked out, and now Trae Young wants out. They've been rumored to trade him for a very, very long time. It seems like every year around this time we get a potential Trae Young trade in the works, but now it is officially in the works. A couple teams that have jumped out right away, according to reports. One that jumped out to me, Nolan, as a surprise, the Washington Wizards. The Wizards, who, by the way, 9-25 on the season. Looking to add at the deadline is not something that I had in my checklist for this year in the NBA, right? That's not something that I expected to see. But people are really pushing that. And I would be shocked, honestly, if this move happened. But apparently the package is going to be centered around CJ McCollum. You trade an expiring contract for an expiring contract. The issue here, and the reason, Nolan, that I don't think this happens, the Wizards' first round pick in a really stacked draft class, they need to be within the top 4. Otherwise, it goes to the New York Knicks. Scary, terrifying. Don't trade for Trae Young. He's not going to re-sign with the Washington Wizards, so there's no reason to trade for him. I understand you might want to go and get an asset like that, build around, show these young guys how to play with a point guard like Trae Young, but this is a team that needs to build a core first, not make a random splash at a guy that's not going to stay longer than half of a season. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't understand why the Atlanta Hawks would do this, right? I just don't understand why they would do this. What are you going to do with CJ McCollum? Like how is that going to make you a better team this year? How is that going to help you for the future? I just don't understand it. I know you need to get rid of Trae Young, but I bet you can do better than that. And the rumor is if you do that trade to get off of the salary of Trae Young, they're going to have to give up picks as well, which is crazy. CJ McCollum for Trae Young and picks? That's wild, man. I just don't get it at all. Lakers are on the table. They always are. We talked a little bit about that, Nolan. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be an insane team. No defense. They'd put up about 170 points a game. They'd give up about 180, though, so I don't know how much that would get. I don't know how much that would really help them. What's your read on Trae Young? Where's he going? And what kind of compensation can the Hawks expect?
I could honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. It's gonna maybe sound crazy, maybe not. I can maybe seeing him go to Milwaukee.
For
I can
Giannis?
see it. No, I think they keep Giannis, and Giannis finally gets a little support. I think Giannis finally gets the guard he needs to kind of run an offense, and I think that maybe if they get Trae Young, probably like Miles Turner, um, maybe like Kyle Kuzma, like maybe a draft pick. I think that maybe they'll send him to Milwaukee, and then Milwaukee can finally get out of this hellhole that they're in. They're playing bad basketball. I mean, they're 11th in the East, 11th, and they're funny enough. They're behind the Falcons, the Hawks, who are at 10. They're 17-21. The Bucks are currently 16-20, and I think that maybe, just maybe, the Hawks will trade Trae Young to the Milwaukee Bucks for Miles Turner, maybe Kyle Kuzma. But I think Miles Turner would definitely be involved in that trade. Maybe not because it's a trade for Porzingis. But maybe just a lot of draft picks. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I could definitely see him going there. There's no way people really think that he'll go to Washington. It just wouldn't be worth it. They're tanking. We know that. The Wizards have been tanking for years now, trying to rebuild their organization, trying to get better, and it's kind of working.
For the first time in a very long time.
First time, it's kind of working. The record doesn't show it, but they got the players, they got the guys. They need one more year. I think they need maybe 2 at most, but I think in the next few years they will be, with guys who have been playing in the NBA long enough because they'll finally have some, tenured players. Alex Sarr. I mean, you got some guys that can make a difference, and I think that in the next few years they'll be good. Trading for Trae Young would be the worst idea ever. Like you said, he wouldn't re-sign there. He'd want to leave. Trae Young wants to go to a spot where he can contend for a championship. He hasn't been in the Eastern Conference Finals since 2021. He's been in the play-in every year besides that, and I don't know. And he's made it out, lost in the first round, or hasn't made it out of it. I think that he's gonna go either, in my opinion, like I said, the Bucks or maybe some team in the West. Definitely not like Portland. Maybe like the Clippers. I wouldn't be surprised. They don't really have James Harden. He's kind of aging out. A lot of spots to go to, but I really think he can go to the Bucks. I wouldn't be surprised.
I love that spot for him. Honestly, I think that's an excellent place to put him. I see the vision. I don't know how the money works out, but Trae Young to the Bucks, I think would be a real great spot.
Yeah, I think he does. I think it worked out, but I really don't see where else he can go. I mean, there's no way he goes to Lake Show. There's just no way. The team, like you said, that'd be like their third number one option. They'd have too many number one options, and there'd be no defense. It'd be like AAU basketball. There's just no. It just wouldn't be good for the Lake. It just wouldn't be good for the Lakers at all. Oh, there's no way he goes there. I just don't know. I just can't see him anywhere else besides Milwaukee Bucks right now. I really can't.
I love that fit. I think that's a great idea. They tried to do that with Dame. It did not work out. Take two potentially with Trae Young. Keep Giannis around, which obviously they want to do. A couple other names being put around the trade block. Obviously Giannis. We just kind of touched on it. Who knows if he gets traded or not. I thought he'd be long gone by this point, but he's back. He was hurt, and now he's playing again for the Bucks. I thought if he really wanted out, he wouldn't play for the Bucks until he was traded. But whatever. Who knows what's going on over there with him. And then Anthony Davis. Talk to me a little bit about him. He has been the subject of a lot of different trade rumors around the Dallas Mavericks. They obviously get him as the return piece, the centerpiece in a return for Luka Doncic, who they traded away at last year's trade deadline to move off of a guy like Davis, who still has got it. You've got Cooper Flagg to pair with him in that front court. You've got Kyrie Irving potentially coming back before the playoffs. And you've got Klay Thompson out there. This is a solid team of old guys and Cooper Flagg. You blow that up because they're not playing great right now, right? This is just a interesting situation for the Mavericks right now. Anthony Davis back on the trade block. What kind of return and what teams do you think might be interested in a guy like him?
And there's a certain team in the West that really doesn't play any defense. They can really use a center right about now.
He's got some familiarity, I heard, with playing with those guys.
Yeah, it's like you played with them before. Maybe won a championship with them too. I'm not sure. Just not sure. But honestly, the Lakers, they need a center bad. And even though he's constantly hurt, it is getting to a problem where he's hurt like every other game. He's not playing. He's still one of the best bigs in the NBA. He is still constantly putting up double-doubles, getting multiple blocks a game. He is still that good. The problem is he's just not staying healthy. It's not his fault. It's not his fault he's getting hurt. He's just, his body, it's too big. It's too big. He gets hurt. But I think the Lakers need a center bad. And I think that if he gets traded, he could honestly go back to LA. Definitely not for Luka, but they would want a lot. The Mavericks would want a lot. They'd probably want, I don't know, Austin Reeves, Bolton Connect. I mean, I don't know who they could give. LeBron, maybe? I don't know.
Bro, if the Lakers pulled off a trade to get Anthony Davis back after trading him for Luka, that would be the masterclass of all masterclasses. That's insane.
I think if that happened, I think Nico Harrison would actually be exiled from the United States.
Well, he's not the GM anymore, so he can't.
No, I know, but I'm saying they would still exile him. It's just all his fault. It's just all his fault. I still can't believe that trade happened. But
Dallas might burn down if that happens.
Dallas would actually crumble. Maybe I could see Golden State trading for him. Golden State needs a legitimate center. Draymond Green isn't cutting it. He's getting ejected every game. I mean, they have some great players. They obviously still have Steph Curry who's putting up 30 points a game. You have Jimmy Butler. You have Jonathan Kuminga. You have a great team. Brandon Podziemski every other game. But you don't have a good center. Draymond Green is getting old, obviously, as we all do. And Anthony Davis is younger. He's bigger, and he's better. I would trade for him. Maybe. I wouldn't be opposed to him going to Golden State. They're currently a play-in team. I think they're the 8th seed. Yeah, they are the 8th seed currently at 19 and 18. But I think you trade for AD. You trade AD for Draymond. You probably have to trade like a few other starters, maybe a few other bench guys. But I think the Warriors may make a trade for AD. Maybe bring back Klay Thompson as well in that trade. I think the Warriors could maybe become, a top 6 team in the West. But I could definitely see him going. I can actually see him fitting really well in Golden State. That's my go-to spot for him right now.
Yeah, I think Golden State is a team that would absolutely fit him. We'll keep an eye on the trade deadline as it nears. Keep you up to date with everything that you need to know from around the NBA. But thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. We have been your hosts, Jeremy Lapidus and Nolan Jamber. Welcome back. We will be here tomorrow, same time, same place. You can find us everywhere, all around the internet, on YouTube, at Triple Threat Show, on Twitch, at 3 Threat Show, Instagram, at 3 Threat Show _ and TikTok, at _, Triple Threat Show, and also wherever you get your podcasts. That's right, we're also a podcast. As much as looking at our ugly mugs might help you out, you can take a look at our voices. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all over the place. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to break down some more NBA news. We're going to go over a little bit of NHL hockey, potentially. We'll also talk some more NFL as we continue to break down the season that was and what could come up. The college football playoffs kick off soon on Thursday. The semifinals start. We'll break all of that down. You can find me and my friend Shane Brisland on tonight to do some hockey talk. If you are a hockey head, go and tune in to In the Crease tonight. We will be live at about 9 o'clock p.m. Can't wait to see you then, and I'll see you tomorrow.